forcing time is to upset the timing of others, to make them hurry, to make them wait, to make them abandon their own pace, to distort their perception of time. By upsetting the timing of your opponent while you stay patient, you open up time for yourself, which is half the game. In 1473, the great Turkish Sultan Mehmed the Conqueror invited negotiations with Hungary to end the off-and-on war the two countries had waged for years. When the Hungarian emissary arrived in Turkey to start the talks, Turkish officials humbly apologized. Mehmed had just left Istanbul, the capital, to battle his longtime foe, Uzun Hazen. But he urgently wanted peace with Hungary and had asked that the emissary join him at the front. When the emissary arrived at the site of the fighting, Mehmed had already left it, moving eastward in pursuit of his swift foe. This happened several times. Wherever the emissary stopped, the Turks lavished gifts and banquets on him in pleasurable but time-consuming ceremonies. Finally, Mehmed defeated Uzun and met with the emissary. Yet his terms for peace with Hungary were excessively harsh. After a few days, the negotiations ended and the usual stalemate remained in place. But this was fine with Mehmed. In fact, he had planned it that way all along, plotting his campaign against Uzun. He had seen that diverting his armies to the east would leave his western flank vulnerable. To prevent Hungary from taking advantage of his weakness and his preoccupation elsewhere, he first dangled the law of peace before his enemy, then made them wait all on his own terms. Making people wait is a powerful way of forcing time, as long as they do not figure out what you are up to. You control the clock, they linger in limbo and rapidly come unglued, opening up opportunities for you to strike. The opposite effect is equally powerful. You make your opponents hurry. Start off your dealings with them slowly, then suddenly apply pressure, making them feel that everything is happening at once. People who lack the time to think will make mistakes, so set their deadlines for them. This was the technique Machiavelli admired in Cesare Borgia, who, during negotiations, would suddenly press vehemently for a decision, upsetting his opponent's timing and patience. For who would dare make Cesare wait? Joseph Jouvin, the famous art dealer, knew that if he gave an indecisive buyer, like Rockefeller, a deadline, the painting had to leave the country. Another tycoon was interested in it. A client would buy just in time. Freud noticed that patients, who had spent years in psychoanalysis without improvement, would miraculously recover just in time if you fixed a definite date for the end of the therapy. Jacques Lacan, the famous French psychoanalyst, used a variation on this tactic. He would sometimes end the customary session of therapy after only 10 minutes, without warning. After this happened several times, the patient would realize that he had better make maximum use of the time, rather than wasting much of the hour with a lot of talk that meant nothing. The deadline, then, is a powerful talk to close of the vistas of indecision and force people to make up their dumb minds, or get to the point. Never let them make you play on their excruciating terms. Never give them time. Magicians are experts in forcing time. Houdini could FDA and Regal free of handcuffs in minutes, but he would draw the escape out to an hour, making the audience sweat as time came to an apparent standstill. Magicians have always known that the best way to alter our perception of time is often to slow down the pace. Creating suspense brings time to a terrifying pause. The slower the magician's hands move, the easier it is to create the illusion of speed, making people think the rabbit has appeared instantaneously. The great 19th century magician Robert Houdin took explicit notice of this effect. The more slowly a story is told, he said, the shorter it seems. Going slower also makes what you are doing more interesting. The audience seals to your pace, becomes entranced. It is a state in which time wizards delightfully buy. You must practice such illusions, which share in the hypnotist's power to alter perceptions of time and time. You can play the game with the utmost artistry, waiting patiently for the right moment to act, potting your competitors of their form by messing with their timing. But it won't mean a thing unless you know how to finish. Do not be one of those people who look like paragons of patience, but are actually just afraid to bring things to a close. Patience is worthless unless combined with a willingness to fall ruthlessly on your opponent at the right moment. You can wait as long as necessary for the conclusion to come, but when it comes, it must come quickly. Use speed to paralyze your opponent, to cover up any mistakes you might make. With the patience of a snake charmer, you draw the snake out with calm and steady rhythms. Once the snake is out though, would you dangle your foot above its deadly head? There is never a good reason to allow the slightest hitch in your endgame. Your mastery of timing can really only be judged by how you work within time, how you quickly change the pace, and bring things to a swift and definitive conclusion.